Hey guys, Miss Sewing here with a review of the 2000 election. This is a pretty controversial election, so we will get started with who was running. And you might notice off the bat, something a little strange is happening here. We have three candidates running for president. So number one, we have the Republican. This is George W. Bush, the son of former President George Bush. In the middle, we have Democratic candidate Al Gore. He was Bill Clinton's vice president when Clinton, of course, was in office. And finally, we have a Green Party candidate. We have somebody else. We usually only have two candidates, a Democrat and a Republican. But this election, we have a third party, and that is a guy by the name of Ralph Nader, and he runs under the Green Party, which is an environmental party. And we have an interesting situation that develops with Nader. That is called a third-party spoiler. And so what that means is when you have that third party, that other party running for president, it creates a situation where that person's drawing votes, taking votes away from either of the two main candidates, either Bush or Gore. Those votes would have had to go to one of them, but instead they're going to Nader. So during the actual 2000 election, you look at the votes that are coming in, you notice that those votes are neck and neck. We have Gore here with 48.4% of the vote. Bush has 47.9%. That's half a percentage difference, and we would call that too close to call. Very, very slim margin of error. And so it goes to the one state that is still counting its votes at this time, the state that is still tallying up and seeing who's going to win, and that is the state of Florida. It all comes down to who will win the state of Florida. Also neck and neck there. We come to this realization, which I've known the whole time, of course, and that is that Florida sucks, man. Florida has so many problems going on during this election. The ballots, they are not punched right. Many people, when punching their ballots, they made a mistake. They made a mistake while they were selecting their candidate, and it caused their ballots to be invalidated or to be crossed off and not counted. And so what happened was the elections depended on who's going to win this state. But here's the state still counting their votes, realizing they have all these problems left and right, and it's going to take some time to count those votes. And as this is happening, Al Gore has requested a recount of those votes in Florida, since there are all these problems, and Gore is ahead in the popular vote, but behind in the state of Florida. He's realizing he's going to need this state to win it. So does Bush, right? It all depends on who comes up with the state. And so as they are recounting those votes, a decision is made. And this decision is made by the Supreme Court. They are the highest court in the land, and what they say goes. And what they decided to do was to formally end the recount, stop counting up those votes in Florida, and go ahead and award that state and its electoral votes to George Bush, right? That decision was a 5-4 decision, meaning 5 of those justices voted for Bush, while 4 of them voted for Al Gore and his case to continue counting the votes in Florida. And this is a pretty controversial call. It's the only time the Supreme Court has really decided an election in this country. Let's wrap up with the key points of the 2000 election. We should remember that Gore got more votes in this election, but Bush ultimately won. We also should keep in mind Ralph Nader. He was that third-party candidate, that spoiler, who may have taken votes away from Bush or away from Gore, possibly impacting the results. We should also keep in mind that the state of Florida messed all of this up because their ballots, many of those ballots were not correctly counted, causing a lot of chaos with that pivotal state. And then ultimately our Supreme Court decided this election in the case Bush versus Gore, where they decided to stop the recount in Florida, giving Bush the win in that state and therefore causing Bush to win the election. So 2000 election is certainly a controversial one. It stands out as an odd election in our history, and it's one that might come up on STAAR. So hopefully keep these points in mind and you'll do fine.